while young people and parents in Mexico are looking for legitimate jobs on the internet without knowing that they are falling into the trap of El Mencho's hitmen. These individuals apply for a security guard position in a fictitious organization and are told that they must join the job immediately. When they arrive at what is supposed to be their workplace, they find themselves in a training school for hitmen from the El Mencho cartel. They are faced with two options: fight to the end or face death. There is no middle ground. They cannot say goodbye to their families and loved ones. To what end? To give way to the control of drug trafficking in the Mexican countryside by El Mencho. But before we delve into these events, let's back up for a moment. How did El Mencho come to accumulate so much power? Initially, he was known as Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, but later changed his name to Nemesio in honor of his grandfather. He was born on July 17, 1966, in Aguililla, Michoacán, Mexico. His parents did not have a wealthy life, but they were known for working humbly in the cultivation of avocados. The boy had 5 brothers: Juan, Miguel, Antonio, Marin, and Abraham. He dropped out of primary school in the 5th grade to work in the avocado fields. It was said that this avocado business was known as the avocado cartel because they used to transport drugs hidden among the avocados. At some point, this smaller smuggling cartel changed its name and became what we know today as the Millennium Cartel. A couple of years later, specifically in the 1980s, El Mencho illegally emigrated to California to hide his identity and evade the surveillance of the authorities. At that time, El Mencho used random fake names such as Ruben Avila, José López, Miguel Valadez, Carlos Hernández Mendoza, and Roberto Salgado. The first time El Mencho was arrested by the U.S. police was at the age of 19 on charges of robbery and possession of a loaded weapon. Although there is no information that indicates that El Mencho was romantically involved at that time, his first child was born just 2 months after his arrest. As expected from a future drug lord, more arrests followed, including one in 1992, in which El Mencho and one of his brothers, Abraham, were caught for selling drugs to undercover police officers. To prevent Abraham from being sentenced to life in prison, the Mencho pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 5 years in the Big Spring, Texas Penitentiary Center. After serving 3 years, he was released on parole and deported to Mexico at the age of 30. Once back in Mexico, El Mencho joined the local police in Cabo Corrientes and Tomatlan in the state of Jalisco. This raises the question of how he got that job. However, he eventually came to the conclusion that he would rather be on the wrong side of the law, so he left the police department and joined organized crime as a full-time member of the Millennium Cartel. Since El Mencho knew that establishing the right connections would benefit him in the long term, he married the sister of one of the cartel's leaders, Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia. Over time, El Mencho rose through the ranks, although he initially began as a hitman in the Millennium Cartel and was part of the assassination squad that protected one of the cartel's leaders. Armando Valencia Cornelio, known as El Maradona, was arrested in August 2003 by Mexican authorities. According to reports at the time, a rival group called Los Zetas, backed by the Gold Cartel, attacked the Millennial Cartel in Michoacán. This violent confrontation weakened the Valencia family, who were forced to move to Guadalajara, the capital of Jalisco. El Mencho, along with his wife's father, José Luis González Valencia, alias El Kini, and Román Caballero Valencia, also moved to Guadalajara. In Guadalajara, Mencho and the Millennium Cartel began to forge solid alliances. One of the most important was with Ignacio Coronel, known as Nacho, who led the Sinaloa cartel at the time. They also associated with Joaquín Guzmán, alias El Chapo. Thanks to this strong alliance, Mencho and a select group of people supervised drug trafficking operations in both Colima and Jalisco. In October 2009, the top leader of the Millennium Cartel, Oscar Orlando Nava Valencia, alias El Lobo, was arrested. His detention eventually led to the arrest of his brother Juan Carlos, known as El Tigre, in May 2001. 2 months later, Nacho lost his life during an armed confrontation with the Mexican army. With the arrest or death of many of the most important figures of the Millennium Cartel, this criminal group fell apart in terms of its leadership. And then they decided it was time to adopt a new name. The Mencho group ceased to be known as Los Torcidos to become the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The CJNG continued its expansion, acquiring more territories and at the same time corrupting government officials. In a short time, the CJNG established itself as one of the main cartels in Mexico. With the rise of the CJNG, the Mencho also rose in influence and notoriety, although for controversial reasons. For example, in 2003, CJNG hitmen raped, murdered, and set fire to a 10-year-old girl, whom they had mistaken for the daughter of a rival. Then, in 2000, they placed sticks of dynamite on the body of a man and his school-aged son, recording these brutal deaths. In addition, the Mencho became well known for openly confronting the armed forces of Mexico, which earned him the title of main enemy of the state. Another key factor that contributed to his rise was the arrest of the most prominent leaders of other cartels, including El Chapo. While Mexican authorities were busy trying to imprison El Chapo made way for the Chijang to fight off incursions from other cartels and seize territory in Jalisco and surrounding states. According to reliable reports, the Mencho meticulously supervised all CJN drug trafficking operations in the states of Jalisco, Colima, and Guanajuato, where he established a network for drug production. The CJNG managed to consolidate its operations in 8 states, including Jalisco, Colima, Guanajuato, Nayarit, and Veracruz. In these states, the cartel carried out important trafficking operations in substances such as methamphetamine and cocaine. Later in Morelos, Guerrero, and Michoacán, they focused mainly on combating rival drug trafficking groups. Although this might seem like a sizable presence, some reports suggest that between 2011 and 2016, the CJNG lost its territorial control in Mexico City. At the international level, the CJNG has established alliances related to drug trafficking with criminal groups in the United States, Latin America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. The CJNG not only thrives in drug trafficking, but has also increased its profits. Currently, it is one of the most lucrative drug cartels in Mexico. According to government estimates, the total assets of the CJNG amount to around 50 billion euros. As I mentioned earlier in the video, one of the factors that contributed to the Mencho's dizzying rise was his constant confrontation with the Mexican authorities. One of the emblematic episodes of these confrontations occurred when the CJN went to unimaginable lengths to avoid the arrest of the Mencho. They placed barricades on several highways and roads in the metropolitan area of Guadalajara, setting fire to at least 37 vehicles. Cartel members burned these vehicles and then used them as barriers to block the advance of the armed forces in the capital of Jalisco. This delay was coordinated to give the man enough time to escape. The cartel placed barricades on the main access and exit roads to Guadalajara. After these attacks, the police confirmed that the man had been in the area and managed to avoid capture. In March 2005, CJNG hitmen ambushed a federal police convoy in Ocotlan, Jalisco. In this attack, 5 police officers, 3 civilians, and 3 members of the CJNG lost their lives. Many sources indicate that this was another carefully planned attack by the CJNG with the purpose of protecting the Mencho, who had visited the area for a meeting. That same month, Heriberto Acevedo Cardenas, alias El Güero, one of Mencho's close associates, along with 3 other CJN suspects, died in a shootout with federal police in Zacualco de Torres, Jalisco. It has been reported that Acevedo Cardenas directed CANG cells in several towns in Jalisco, such as Zacualco, Tlajomulco, Cocula, Tapalpa, and Atamajac de Brizuela. In retaliation, the Mencho ordered the CJNG to attack the Mexican Federal Police. The next day, CJNG hitmen in Zapopan, Jalisco, assaulted a convoy in which Alejandro Solorio Arechiga, Jalisco's security commissioner, was traveling. Fortunately, there were no fatalities during the shooting. A month later, the CJNG hitmen blocked a highway in San Sebastián del Oeste with a burning vehicle and opened fire on a convoy of the Jalisco State Police. This incident resulted in the tragic death of 15 police officers and left 5 or more of them injured. This act was recorded as the deadliest attack perpetrated against Mexican police forces in a single incident. For some time on that same day, Miguel Ángel Caicedo Vargas, who was the police chief of Zacualco de Torres, was also murdered. In May 2005, the Mexican government carried out what they called Operation Jalisco, a military-led campaign with the goal of combating organized crime groups in Jalisco and capturing their leaders. The constant attacks carried out by the CJNG hitmen were what triggered this operation. According to intelligence reports, the Mencho was in Tonaya when Operation Jalisco began. When the security forces moved to the area where the man was supposedly hiding, a shootout occurred between the agents and the CJNG hitmen. In another town called Villa Purificación, Jalisco, CJNG gunmen shot down a Mexican army helicopter with a grenade launcher, resulting in the tragic deaths of 9 soldiers. Currently, the Mencho is the most wanted person in Mexico, one of the most wanted in the United States. Both governments offer rewards of up to 30 million Mexican pesos and 10 million US dollars, respectively, for any information leading to his arrest. Reports from 2020 suggest that the boy was suffering from kidney disease and had built a hospital in Naiswald for treatment. However, in February 2022, another report emerged stating that the man had died due to respiratory arrest while receiving treatment at a private hospital in Guadalajara. Although many believe this to be true, it has not yet been officially confirmed. Furthermore, the Mexican government maintains that the Mencho is hidden in the state of Jalisco under the protection of former military personnel. That's all for today. I hope you liked the video. If so, I invite you to like it. Activate the bell to find out about any new video we upload. And subscribe if you are a true fan of Narcos stories. See you next time.